Susan Magdalene Boyle was born on April 1st, 1961, in Blackburn, West Lothian, Scotland, the youngest of 10 children. The birth was complicated, and Susan was deprived of oxygen during delivery, which led to a diagnosis of minor brain damage. This would become a defining aspect of her early life. At school, Susan struggled to keep up with her peers, and she was often labeled as difficult, slow, or odd. These cruel labels stuck, and Susan found herself the target of bullying, earning the nickname Susie Simple. The harsh treatment she endured in her youth would shape her into a woman who learned to navigate the world on her own terms, despite the pain she faced. While the world around her remained indifferent, music became Susan's sanctuary, a space where she could find solace and a sense of identity, music as a lifeline. From a young age, Susan's voice was her escape. Music did not judge or label her. It embraced her. She began singing in church and in the quiet of her home, where her voice felt free from the limitations others placed on her. Music became more than just a pastime. It was a vital part of her identity. Her mother, Bridget, was her biggest supporter. Bridget, a deeply devout Catholic, encouraged Susan to pursue her love of singing and pushed her to perform publicly. Although the audiences at local talent shows were often more interested in their pints than the performers on stage, Susan's passion for singing kept her going. Despite the lack of recognition, she found strength in her voice, which became her constant companion, a reminder of the power she had to share with the world. Struggles with rejection and overlooked talent. Susan's attempts to break beyond Blackburn and into the world of professional music were met with rejection. She recorded a demo tape in 1999 and submitted it to a Scottish talent competition, but was rejected. She also entered various local contests and small talent shows, but each attempt ended with her being overlooked. The entertainment industry, with its focus on youth, beauty, and marketability, had no place for Susan, who didn't fit its rigid standards. With each setback, Susan returned to her council house in Blackburn, where she cared for her aging mother, who had once been her greatest champion. As the years passed, Susan's dreams of becoming a professional singer seemed more and more distant. She resigned herself to a quiet life of care and solitude, with only her voice to comfort her in times of loneliness. The loss of Bridget and a new beginning. In 2007, Susan's world changed with the death of her mother, Bridget, at the age of 91. For the first time, Susan was left to live alone in the same house where she had grown up. The loss of her mother, who had always been her greatest supporter, left Susan feeling vulnerable and uncertain. However, it also marked a turning point. At 46, Susan found herself with the space to pursue something she had always dreamed of: a professional singing career. The world didn't know her name, and her dream seemed impossible. But Susan remembered the promise she had made to her mother to try. It was that promise that motivated her to take a bold step forward, auditioning for Britain's Got Talent in 2009, despite her previous experiences of rejection. The reluctant audition and overcoming doubts. In the weeks leading up to her audition, Susan had second thoughts. She had tried before and failed, and the sting of rejection was still fresh. However, Susan had promised her late mother that she would try, and that promise pushed her to take a train to Glasgow alone. The audition was her chance to finally take the stage, even if she wasn't sure what to expect. Backstage at the Britain's Got Talent auditions, the atmosphere was a mix of excitement and nerves. Susan, dressed in a gold lace dress she had specifically bought for the occasion, stood among younger, more polished contestants, and she almost went unnoticed. Despite her nervousness, she smiled and shared a bit about her life, revealing that she lived alone in Blackburn with her cat and had never been kissed. Little did she know This moment would be the beginning of a transformation. The audition that changed everything. When Susan walked onto the stage, the audience's reaction was swift and skeptical. Laughter and eye rolls spread across the room, with many in the audience dismissing her before she even opened her mouth. The judges, Piers Morgan, Amanda Holden, and Simon Cowell, looked at her with a mixture of pity and doubt. Susan announced she would be singing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, a bold choice for someone who had never performed for such a large crowd. As the music began, the audience's laughter quickly turned to silence. Susan's voice, raw and unpolished, reached the audience in a way that none of them could have expected. Within moments, the laughter stopped, and the room was filled with astonished gasps. By the time she reached the final note, the audience was on its feet, clapping and cheering. The judges were visibly moved, with tears in their eyes as they realized they had just witnessed something extraordinary, going viral and becoming an overnight sensation. The moment Susan Boyle began singing, the energy in the room shifted. Her performance wasn't just beautiful, it was transformative. It defied all expectations and forced everyone to confront their preconceived notions. As soon as the audition aired, the clip was uploaded to YouTube. Within 9 days, it had been watched 100 million times. Susan Boyle, a 47-year-old woman from a small town in Scotland, had become an international sensation. The world that had ignored her for so long now couldn't look away. People who had once laughed at her now celebrated her. The viral clip spread across social media, and soon the media came calling. Suddenly, Susan was thrust into the global spotlight, her face appearing on television screens around the world. But as her fame skyrocketed, Susan found herself overwhelmed by the attention. The struggles of instant fame. Fame arrived for Susan Boyle in a whirlwind. Within just a few days, she stays inki that right, situnti right. She went from living a quiet life in Blackburn to being interviewed on American morning shows, appearing in newspapers, and meeting the biggest names in the entertainment industry. She was now part of the celebrity machine that had once seemed so far beyond her reach. But fame, especially sudden fame, is a double-edged sword. Susan had spent 47 years out of the limelight, and now in a matter of days, she was forced to navigate the complexities of the media, public scrutiny, and the expectations of an industry that had no idea how to handle her. Despite the overwhelming support from the public, Susan struggled to find her place in this new world. Fame had arrived, but with it came a new set of challenges, and Susan was left to find a way to process it all. The price of being seen. For years, Susan Boyle had lived in relative obscurity. She was invisible to the world, and the world was content to overlook her. But when she was finally seen, the cost was high. Fame came with its own set of pressures. Interviews, public appearances, and the constant scrutiny of her every move. Susan had no time to prepare for this kind of exposure. Her life had been built on small, private moments, and now it was being broadcast to millions. Despite the overwhelming success that followed her audition, Susan struggled with the loss of privacy, the emotional toll of constant media attention, and the weight of expectations. She had achieved her dream of being a professional singer, but the price of being seen was something she had never anticipated. The world had finally recognized her talent, but in doing so, it had also transformed her life in ways she wasn't prepared for. A new chapter. As Susan's career continued to grow, she learned to navigate the complexities of fame with grace and determination. She released albums, toured the world, and performed in front of millions. But through it all, she remained rooted in the values that had sustained her all these years: humility, gratitude, and the belief that her voice was a gift, She had spent 47 years invisible, and now, in the blink of an eye, the world could no longer ignore her. Susan Boyle's story is a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of self-belief, and the incredible ability of music to transcend all barriers. Her journey from obscurity to global fame is a reminder that sometimes the world doesn't know what it's missing until it hears the voice it has overlooked for so long.